Welcome to Yildiz Readings 5D, a hub in which we cover your zodiacs, astrology, twin flame path, moon energy, and more. Should you need a booking, you can go to the link below. And for all information relating to our psychic tarot extension, the information is in the box below. Without further ado, let's take a look at what I see coming through for your zodiac sign. Were we wrapping up 2022? More than likely. We did have Mars, the planet of war, obsession, passion, sitting in the house of Gemini from August last year, where it did then ingress into the house of Cancer, which it is deemed in as detriment, but many of us are super excited at the fact that we get a break of that. Separately, we had Saturn shifting into the house of Pisces, which occurred on the 7th of March, 2023. It will remain there in the house until 2025. Separately, our big Pluto ingress into the house of Aquarius did occur last month. This also is going to be a huge subject coming in the collective due to the fact it's going to shift between Capricorn and Aquarius, wrapping up its karmic cycle. It can feel a little bit testing, especially now because it was at the 29-degree point, shifting into 0 degrees of Aquarius. We're still trying to get our footings and getting the PDF of what subjects are going to be really looked at with great detail and really cast out because they're simply not working. Let's take a look at how this month is going to be shaped for us and what we need to be prepared for. Now, what can April bring? Number one, we do have an eclipse occurring this month. Number two, we do have Mercury moving retrograde. We're going to feel that mid-month. We also have Mars sitting in the house of Cancer. That can bring themes of emotions to the surface, and we do need to try and be patient. And I definitely see some themes really playing out in a sense of new beginnings. And I found it really interesting at the fact that we had a new moon last month and we're having another new moon in Aries in two sets. So I really felt as though we were going to start something brand new, have an inkling of it, but really not get the full, momentum of it happening. And I do feel we're going to have more clues to this, but it really started to set the stage last month. And so wherever that Aries placement is for each zodiac, which I'll dive into, what I'm seeing is this hybrid partial eclipse that is going to be occurring on the 20th of April, 2023. And I feel it's important, don't make any major decisions if you can. Moon is very emotional. It can be home, family, mother, intuitive energy. And Sun is the identity, the logic, and generally speaking through that, we tend to not have either. So, whereby we can delay making decisions, especially because it's already entering into that shadow phase of Mercury retrograde in the house of Taurus. I think it's really important to, I would say, be optimistic, but be cautious. Really, dot your I's and cross your T's. You could feel that some blessings are coming back to you from the past, but it also can be a time where we're going backwards to go forward simultaneously. But I do see this is a brand new chapter. So I would say by mid-month, try to have your ducks in a row. Try and keep as organised as possible and be aware of those inkling frustrations and tension points where we do have that first eclipse of the year, which is a hybrid. We also are having a full moon in the house of Libra. And I think that's pretty interesting because both the axis of Libra and Aries will be coming about later in the year as the nodes move. And they tend to set the tone of what we have astrologically happening globally. And I did say really at a collective level that feminines do need to be very cautious of how they show up in society, of their safety, their wellness, and being that we're entering April with Mars in the house of Cancer, practice safety, practice self-awareness, try to build people up, try to not pull them down, but very much protect yourself where need be. As we do move into the month of April, we are in the vibration of angel number 4. Separately, we can also look to number 11 for added guidance, as we do have it being the 4th month in 2023, breaking down to an 11. Now, what I see coming through for this is we can have this sense that we are feeling very alone, that we're feeling very isolated. This particularly could be because Mars is in the house of Cancer. And so with our endeavors, with our hopes, with our feelings, we can particularly possibly feel misunderstood. Now, 11 is a brand new chapter. We can feel a little bit out of our depth, but know everything is very divinely guided. Alignment is key, but it's a brand new chapter. So again, the tedious frequency of the precipice of change can feel like you are a giraffe trying to gain its bearings. Know that you're not alone and that help is coming. You are going to be attracting in brand new situations. And even if you do feel out of your depth, know that universe has your back. It is the precipice of change that does make us feel very tense. Trust the process. We can feel misunderstood with our feelings, our emotions. And again, Mars can bring volatility to those dynamics. So knowing where Mars in Cancer falls in your chart could be pretty key. And also really getting prepared, because we do have an eclipse this month. And so where you're feeling that there is lack, there are also going to be opportunities. And it's really about getting into alignment, seeking out those situations, having that attention in those areas of your life and enhancing them where need be. The burning question on all of our lips may be, is this month going to be any better? Are we ready? Are we prepared? And what is hidden? And I'm going to cover all of that inside of your zodiac. I will give you tips where I feel are necessary inside of any heavy energy that does potentially come through. And separately, you can book a private session or join a YouTube membership. Let's take a look at your zodiac sign and all the various areas that can play out this month for you. Big month, Libra. Yes, your life is set to change dramatically from here through to 2025. So this I would deem as a transformation in your life, the way you see yourself, situations that are playing out, the connections you have, the contracts you have. And definitely you can find by the time we reach 2025 a brand new Libra in hand. The beginning of the month, we do have a full moon in your zodiac. So don't be surprised if you personally want to make some changes or something happens to you. It can be a time when we feel a little bit more moody, especially surrounding family and tribe. There can be new chapters coming. The way you look at your life, the way you look at your image, the way people see you. This can also be a very positive thing. It can be an end of one cycle, the beginning of a new one, pertaining to career, relationships, your own purpose, your identity, your image. And there is a wrap up. So it can feel very intuitive, very nostalgic, very deep. So I would give myself a few days either side. The eclipse also is going to directly be affecting you, which I will go deeper into as we move to the eclipse sector of this update. We did have Mars in the house of Gemini from August last year, and it transitioned over into the house of Cancer last month, and it is going to be here in the house of Cancer this month. And I do feel that, especially if you were wanting a holiday or you had a lot going on or you were reviewing your values, were you educated enough? Do you upskill? Were you doing a course? We also did feel that there was a lot of paperwork. You might have been reflecting over a previous relationship you had, or dealing with a dispute and how to organize it. Those things, you're going to start seeing the values in them. And could it be seeing the value in a lesson? Particularly, it could be. But it could also be that there is an opportunity for you to look at where you're going in your life, having a break, coming to terms with the past, and having some opportunities coming towards you, especially blasts from the past. We're going to get into your romantic sector. And each section by section, we're going to break it down. And any tips I have for you, I shall give to you. As mentioned, this is the most changeable point. Really take stock of this month. It's setting the tone, and nodes are shifting shortly, and they will be in the axis of Aries and Libra. And your contract sector, your Venus sector, Venusian sector of your life is going to be really transforming, and you're going to be really focused at the moment on this can be your family and your children. It can also be your deeper intimate relationships. Many of you also can change those connections, change your style of relating. And I do find your zodiac sign is going to become super how could you say it, adventurous, okay? So if there was any pressure really around family and home, these moon cycles can bring a little bit of intensity, but Pluto transitioned out of that zone. So living with a romantic partner, regressing back, looking at what's working, planning for your future, and, purchasing a home, particularly in the next few years, that situation is going to be a lot more easier for you guys. And Pluto is still going to dip back into your fourth house throughout the year. So some of those returning situational ships can come in a tedious sense, but it is ironing the creases out, re-reviewing those circumstances and wrapping it up for that brand new beginning. So this is really the closing of that. And this month you can feel as though you're really focusing in on your romantic sector, the things you do, the food you eat, for instance, and the way you relate to people. Romantically, I do feel in the first 11 days, there especially can be you looking at others and how they're relating to you, what they're giving to you, what you're getting out of it, how you interact with each other. Yes, intimate wounds can come up, but again, it is Venus. So you're going to look at the more heart-centered situation. Those of you in a partnership, you can find that your partner is going through some transformations. This can be with their wages. It can be with a family member. It may be that a family member transited over and an inheritance is coming up. And for some of you, it could be the emotions of, maybe what you and your partner were given, or you in your life were given, and the give and take and what you directly can depend on. I do see either you alone looking at that or you in the connection looking at that. But I most definitely, for those of you that are single, see you requiring an individual that is willing to build with you, willing to work with you, and who you directly can depend on at this point in time. Your attention and focus is going to be very heavy this month on those areas. And I do particularly find that some of you could go on a getaway. There is an opportunity for that. I would plan for it if possible, because further into the month, as we have Mercury retrograde, there can be some miscommunication, crosswires, and, sudden surprises. But yeah, delays in travel. So if you are going to do such, I'd probably do it in the first 2 weeks, but it can be conversation pieces. I also feel if you're in a very toxic relationship, this month could mark a time where you make a major decision to cut that situation out. But you're definitely going to have an opportunity to review it, to renegotiate. But most of this will be more to do with the past that you're reviewing over a physical situation in the here and now and saying, look, you got to go. If you are, however, in a relationship that is toxic, you may be moving into a negotiation with that individual and saying, look, we need to go to counseling. Are our values on the same page? It could be that the issue is, where is this going? How do we see this? Are both parties' values on the same page? And I do see it as an opportunity to turn over a new leaf inside of it and have a brand new chapter. There also could be some surprise engagements this month. Now, yes, your career sector is going to be very, very busy. Those of you running home-based businesses over the last 20 years, you may have found it to be very difficult. Even if it was the last 4 years or most recently, yes, those energies were a little bit tedious. Dealing with long distance, dealing with international trade and anything to that degree. We had Mars retrograde in the 9th. That would have been difficult. If you were studying and upskilling or training individuals, again, cross wires, misunderstandings and fatigue, and really maybe not knowing how to proceed forward in that area might have been difficult. Some of you may be thinking, in your future, where you're going, wanting to upskill, taking on a higher role. And I definitely see transformations for many of you. It could be a transition up. It may be that you're doing 2 jobs. But by the eclipse, I do really predict that there could be an absolute shift. Now, it doesn't have to be that you leave the place of employment. It can be that you tweak it and you turn it and you can see expansion. And I do believe you can actually increase your wealth this month, but you may need to be careful around Mercury retrograde. Some debts also may be tied up, and when you are reviewing the contracts, make sure that it's quite transparent and you've read everything, because things can become more confusing as we move to mid-month, where we're in the shadow phase of Mercury gearing up ready to go retrograde. The eclipse also can bring some complications of pressure points, really, between your creativity and getting things completed in time. So I would say, as much as possible, if you can be organized, really allow for those mishaps to occur by the month's end, because there is a great possibility of difficulty. So by keeping organized, keeping things realistic, you'll be able to achieve your targets. Those of you that want to seek alternative or other employment, sending it out during Mercury retrograde and meditating upon them, resumes, for instance, networking. It's there where you may review previous places of employment, previous thoughts, or previous ways to deal with your career. As Mercury moves direct the following month, what you can find is you have more opportunities then. And with a clearer mind, you can make a conscious choice, but do make sure to read fine print, update your passwords, and be patient. Fatigue is very possible, and emotions relating to body image. Saturn is really pulling you down in your wellness zone, and it is going to require a great deal of structure and routine. Depending on your age bracket, Saturn can relate to age. Saturn also can relate to maturity. And so some of you can be experiencing restrictions in your time, having to be very organized, feeling as though, what you're doing is really limiting you. And Pluto is helping you to see ways that you can shift those things around, those outdated ways relating to your creativity, some hobbies. It's going to make you a little bit more adventurous. I would say during Mercury retrograde, sports that are very dangerous, this would not be the month for it, nor next month. Just go easy into it and practice safety. I also feel with your wellness, the eclipse can have you very seriously making some changes. And I do predict that your zodiac between now and the following year, even into 2025, you're going to look very different. And, one example we can pull from, and I probably can pull up some Libras here. Kim Kardashian is one. Libra celebrities. Let's have a look. Kim Kardashian is one. And we can definitely see how her fashion sense is evolving and changing. And some people go, oh, that's really strange. Gwyneth Paltrow. Who else? Rebecca Ferguson. Neve Campbell. Oh, I haven't checked her for a while. Who else have we got? Kate Winslet. Catherine Zeta-Jones. The image of these individuals really between now and 2025, I'm guaranteeing you, trendsetters, changes. Libra is a masculine sign, and again, because our nodes are shifting, you are going to be paying attention and really honing in. It's a fallacy that Libras can't be alone. Libras can be alone. But Libra's image, you've always been the scales. You're the wellness of the zodiac. You're the Venusian energy. So many of you are starting to pay attention to your wellness, and Saturn's requiring it. So anything that feels out of sync, go and get it checked. You can be I would not say plastic surgery would be good during an eclipse. That would not be a good time to do such, nor is a Mercury retrograde. So if you are wanting to have changes, you may tune into it during the full moon in Libra, and you might really look at your clothing and say, hey, these don't resonate with me. The other thing is, from the internal, I do feel you're going to start going off food. So I definitely, as a Libra, have noticed that the food-based has really changed for me. And certain things I just don't, that I used to, I just really don't like right now. It's really come through over the last 2 months. So don't be surprised if you go off food and you feel that certain things aren't sitting with you. Pay attention to your internal as well as your external. Get adequate sleep. Be cautious around pacifiers moving into the eclipse, and try to get out of your head during the eclipse. Allow for the change to be there. And I could say be spontaneous, but I'd be cautious. I'd be cautious in the first 3 days to not get triggered, to be aware of your environment, and to be aware of what you're buying into, because especially because Mercury will be retrograde during that time. You may have some surprising news. This also could be surprise pregnancies. So if that's something you're not ready for, FY, that can be your children also. Now, as mentioned, with your abundance, there is a possibility in the first 11 days to increase your wealth, but I would say to be resourceful with your finances. I do feel there can be some money coming to you from a distance. I also feel you have opportunities this month to tweak it to increase your abundance. This can be through investments. This could be through, doing 2 jobs. Receiving money that was owed to you, but it's definitely connected to other people's money. And I also feel people could be sourcing you out to directly work with you for some of you. I do feel many of you are making bold goals. This can be towards retirement. It may be towards a big ticket purchase. And I do see that that career is going to be very busy. You're going to be almost obsessive of it. But again, it can be separately. Your purpose in life, you're wanting to know where you're going. You can be very strict on yourself. And so those goals, I do feel the energy and attention will be on where you are going. I do particularly feel there is an opportunity to have the wealth increase. But I also feel if you have been giving things away, getting rid of things, that trend can continue into the following month because of our next up-and-coming eclipse. Now, entering into this month, we are having the full moon in the house of Libra on the 6th of April, 2023. Now, collectively, we can find that we are looking at our wellness. Something can be coming to a head. We can have such in the media. Very separately, what we can find within our own personal zodiacs is key themes relating to wellness, love, abundance, balance, and justice. I do feel, as we do look at this at a collective level, I do feel we are going to be really reworking what we can do to keep ourselves grounded, keep ourselves healthy, and to find the most stable way to have a brand new beginning without being codependent. Due to the fact the next moon is going to be a hybrid eclipse, which I'll get into in a moment. Let's take a look at how this links to your zodiac sign and what I see coming up for you with the full moon in Libra on the 6th of April, 2023. Now, the full moon in Libra on the 6th of April, 2023 can mark a change in you. This can feel very personal. This can be something that happens to you. This can be a vibration that shifts. This also can be you making decisions to move in a very different direction in life. And your status also, your status, your image, it's personal, it's first house. Give yourself a few days either side of the 6. It can be a little bit topsy-turvy. I definitely feel you setting some goals, and you can have a shift in perspective. Now, the very first eclipse of the year has come in 2 sets. The moon is deemed as a black moon, is because we had 2 new moons in 1 set, being Aries. Now, this is the first eclipse of the year, being a hybrid partial solar eclipse in Aries on the 20th of April, 2023. Now, it's also at the critical degrees, and being a new moon, I do particularly feel this can be something quite radically changing very quickly, especially because this is your first house of self. This could be a time in which, with Mercury retrograde, don't do anything drastic when it does come to your hair, your makeup, plastic surgery. I would pause. Now, Mars wants to go in where, it wants to move forward. It's in a hurry. This would be the time where Benefits from the past can come. People can appreciate you. You have large revelations to do with yourself. Also, where you're living, feeling, sensing, intuition can come up. But I would say don't rush. I do particularly feel, because we do have situations retrograding at this point, and this is eclipse, as much as possible, we may find that there's more information coming to us, and this can really aid us through having that brand new direction and confidence for the future. I do particularly feel for you at a personal level, this could be anything to the degree of gaining confidence, having clarity, making a conscious choice of a brand new way that you're going to be, you know, defying the odds, so to speak, not putting up with rubbish. This also could be image changes, quite radically so. And I do particularly feel you could be putting your foot down and saying, I know what I want out of life and I'm going to go and get it. Status also can come into this. So you could go to rags to riches, riches to fame. Again, I would take time with that. This also can be engagements, and personal changes that you physically go through your own personal status. But I do feel it can be greatly healing, and confidence can resurface yet again. Don't be surprised if you do go down the rabbit hole of emotions during it, but it is really going to set the stage. And once we unpack and digest what that is, you may very well find that as we proceed through the next 6 months into 2025, really, because the nodes will be shifting by such that that new tone for your life, both with your marriages, contracts, partnerships, and yourself, you versus other people, is going to look extremely different. Get ready for that 180, baby. Now, this, beautiful Libras, is the tone of what we will be getting through when the nodes shift. So keep an eye on April. It's a big PDF for your zodiac, and it is going to set the tone till 2025. Jupiter at the moment is in the house of Aries. We also have Chiron, the wounded healer, in the house of Aries, and a hybrid partial solar eclipse in the house of Aries on the 20th of April, 2023. Now, it's linking to your 7th house of marriages, contracts, partnerships. That's your friends, it's your body, it's money, it's values, it's the things you like. It's a new beginning. But Pluto is making a square to this eclipse. We also have Mercury retrograde in Taurus. So I would say be cautious. Old wounds can come up, fair-based frequencies, money coming out of nowhere to create a new chapter, changes in the status of a career, a position, a physical relationship. A relationship could take a turn for the best. Some could get engaged. It can come through in a myriad of ways, but it definitely is going to be very confusing for 3 days. We can be heightened in our emotions. We directly can see some things happening in the collective and the world that are quite eye-opening. They can be quite depressing, quite upsetting. However, I do see grand possibilities for this, and having the courage to be open to these, even if maybe some bad things have happened in our past. And I feel your attention is going to be quite focused, but I do feel you may feel pulled in 2 directions. So there could be a piggy in the middle moment where you go, oh my gosh, an opportunity's come up, but I've got this going on. So what do I do? I would say sit with it for a few days. Don't feel pressured. I'm sure you will feel pressured, but don't feel pressured. And be incredibly organized to that point. I would do a clearing of the home first prior to the eclipse. I would avoid pacifiers, beverages, excess caffeine. You can have base chakra going on where it's, you know, your lower back can have some pain, so get anchored and grounded. So clear the energy, clear you. 3 days later to 2 days later, yes, you can do a meditation, but drink lots of fluid, keep hydrated, and try to keep you cool. After that, you may find that you have more clarity about how to deal with this, but during this eclipse, for a couple of days, there can be some tedious energy and confusion. I get the Mariah Carey song. It's like, why are you so obsessed with me? Now, this is your purpose, okay? Mars is going to make you obsessive, passionate, obsessive. You are going to be determined and driven to find something for you. And if it is look, we always say a man is not a plan, but Mars in a feminine's chart is a man, although it is what we can do. Mars also can make us a bit hot and cold at the moment because it's in its detriment sitting in the house of Cancer. So if you feel emotional all of a sudden and then very driven, there can be some second guessing. There can be some blubbering, but there may be some passionate vocal feelings where you are very driven for a cause. Just be aware your career sector is going to be super busy. The beautiful thing is you're going to be pouring attention into it. You're going to need it. We're moving into Mercury retrograde. You're going to so need it. Just try to keep it cool. Try to not go crazy in the process and try to keep the anger down. Also, don't burn yourself out, Libra. We do have Saturn in the house of Pisces for you, linking to your 6th house, and you can get run down. So pace yourself. Put the energy in, step back from the painting and observe as you go, and try to not personalize things. Now, Mercury enters the house of Taurus on the 3rd of April, 2023. For you, it does link to your 8th house. You could get some news in relation to money from the past. You also could be very, very closely looking at tax, debt, legacies, inheritances. Changes with your partnerships can be happening. Changes in an intimate partnership can be happening. And it can be quite romantic, okay? This can be quite hot and heavy. And you also could be reworking things of the past, going over negotiations, having talks about these things, looking at money, looking at wealth, looking at food. Socialization also can be quite up there in the list. But you will be wanting to build things you directly can depend on. Later in the month, we will be having the eclipse, and we're going to be having, as I mentioned, Mercury retrograde. Let's look at that now. So Mercury retrograde in this may be a time when you are doing paperwork. It can be information of the past coming through. It can be a great time for fem checks, updates. If you do have appointments or anything to that degree, what you can find is there can be some element of confusion, missing information. I would definitely get on top of your bookkeeping. But I do feel you're going to be maybe doing some investigation in what you can and can't depend on. I do feel your partner's income also can be changing. Now, that can be a romantic partner or the contract that you are directly connected to. So whatever changes or delays there are, things will become more clear and you will be able to make a solid decision with adequate information as it moves direct. Let's take a look at some of the psychic messages I have for your zodiac sign. And then if you do wish to get the extension, you can go through to our YouTube membership or read the information below for the Psychic Tarot extension. Without further ado, let's take a look at your psychic update and what I see coming through for you. Let's have a look at your psychic messages for the month. Now, I do feel take the pressure down. I don't know who, Jimmy Barnes, is that? Take the pressure down. And I feel there's a lot of pressure on you, Libra, but, you can be feeling it this month. This can be the month where you decide to draw a line in the sand. You're like, right, I'm ready to move forward. I want things to come my way. I need a break. I need to get my ducks in a row. And people need to be real with me. I definitely feel you're wanting to feel your own vibe back. And you're wanting some sense of purpose and something to look forward to. And to date, it might have been that you felt it was all too tedious and serious. And I do feel you're really going to be looking at more adventurous ways of dealing with things. And this may not necessarily be the month where it's going to come through right away. We do have quite a serious transit ahead of us. But I do particularly feel you're making changes and you may need to at times get outside, get in the fresh air. If you are working from home, if you are home quite a bit, really getting a little bit of fresh air, being aware of your surroundings, but also shaking things up a little bit. Some of you are worried about an outcome of a situation. Some of you are wanting to believe in a dream, but you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. It's almost like, the fountain of youth. I do feel some of you may find that, and I don't know what they mean by that, but it could be this magic mix. It could be this, you may look younger than your years. You could find something that really works for you. I do feel somebody from the past is going to tell you something, and this is not somebody you want to reconcile with. This feels an old friend, an old flame, but this particular individual is not somebody you want to reconcile with. That's what they're making reference to. Just to make it perfectly clear, they're telling you something, and it does feel it's giving you an element of closure. I do feel with this person you could be quite friendly. I do feel you're going to be really sought out this month, Libra, and you may think to yourself, why does this happen? Why are people coming out of the woodworks now? I do feel a guide on the other side is trying to send you out an SOS. I can feel a grandmother energy. They may have had asthma or breathing situations. I'm very pale. They're very good on the other side, so they don't want you to worry about that part. I believe the reason they're sighing is because they know that you're going through some troubles at this point, and they're saying it is going to be okay. But they're saying you have a heavy heart. Well, that's random. Okay, apparently the individuals you're thinking about are on the other side having a ripe old chat, and they're very happy, and they're saying, don't worry about us, we're fine. Okay, one particular individual that is on the other side has their personality can be a little bit facetious. It can be a little bit sarcastic, and they're like, I feel mean even saying this, but this is your guide, so I'm just the messenger. You may not be having a fun time, but we're fine. Like I said, it's very facetious, but they're saying it's going to be fine. They're telling you, don't worry, be happy. Yeah, that they are. They're saying it's gonna be okay. They're showing me an island. This feels new. This feels that they're saying that dream you're thinking about, you are going to visit this destination, and by that time that you visit this destination, it is going to be all of what you dreamed it would be. We're going to leave you with that. If you do want to come through and see the Psychic Tarot, jump through. Otherwise, feel free to book a private reading, or I'll see you next month. Take care, beautifuls. I hope to see you through on the other side in our YouTube membership for your Psychic Tarot extension. Come through and take a look what I see coming through for you. I hope to see you through on the other side in our YouTube membership.